Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks for tuning in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call on this Mother's Day. And I want to wish my mom, Sandra, happy Mother's Day, along with my grandmother, Florence, happy Mother's Day, and of course, my wife, Kelly, all happy Mother's Days, including all you mothers out there. So I appreciate you tuning in. Give us a call tonight, 412-575-2600. We definitely have a lot to talk about, and we have a lot to talk about with Steelers insider, Steelers beat writer for the Trib, Chris Adamski, who was with me over on the South Side yesterday for Steelers rookie minicamp. Watching a lot of Drew Aller, that's for sure, but also talking a lot about Aaron Rodgers, who we don't even know if he's in town right now. No pictures, no videos, nothing. We haven't heard anything. It's been crickets right now with Aaron Rodgers, who it was been reported that he was going to be in town this weekend and also potentially signing a contract or coming to terms with a contract. Haven't heard anything. Maybe we'll hear something this week. Don't actually know why he was in town this weekend, but obviously it wasn't for rookie minicamp. And then the Steelers have OTAs starting next Monday, the 18th, followed by a mandatory minicamp June 2nd. And Chris, if you look at last year and previous years with Aaron Rodgers, it seems like he shows up for the mandatory minicamp, which would start June 2nd for the Steelers this year. So he signed June 5th last year. I would expect something to happen around then. But I would at least like some news coming out that, hey, we've come to terms, we've come to an agreement, and he's going to sign, or he signed and he's not going to show up until June 2nd.
Yeah, that is the only mysterious part to me, is why just get the pen to paper, I suppose, keep up. Like last year, my point of view was very much like, okay, I'm fatigued from all this, and it's just like one way or another. This year, I'm just like, I guess I'm fatigued in a different way. It's just like, it'll be fine. Like there's a lot of consternation. Like I think he'll be here. It's just a matter of time when, and when it does happen, then we'll all forget about the wait, and it'll just be the season and camp and everything and all the storylines that it usually is. It's sort of like I said, Aaron being Aaron, it's just like accept it. I don't know when we'll get a definitive answer, a definitive contract, a definitive announcement or whatever, but I think everybody involved expects this to be the resolution. And like I said, once it happens, probably that's as good a time as any. It was what it was last year, the mandatory minicamp. The difference is this year, the mandatory minicamp under Mike McCarthy is not the final practice sessions of the spring like they have been for years and years here under Mike Tomlin. So it'd actually be coming a couple weeks earlier if that is the case this year. So maybe we can all look forward to that, I suppose.
Look, Chris, I don't know what kind of feedback you've been getting, but when I'm out and people want to talk to me, it seems like I would say it's about 85% fans do not want Rodgers back. Is that the feeling you get?
Yeah, I think you're right. That's probably, or at least the vocal the vocal minority of the fans, or the vocal portion of the fans is. But again, I felt like that was that last year at this time. Last year at this time, I thought there was legitimate fear. I'm like, I don't know if the Steelers know. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers knows. He's going to show up here. I don't think I don't think they realize how much the fan base is against it. But then, yes, they start out 0-3 or something like that, or if he throws a bunch of interceptions in week 1 again or something, I'm sure the fan base will turn on him again. But I just think it'll be all okay. And like I said, as much as this point last year was a story, and until that first week of June, by the time we got to July, everybody totally forgot about it. It wasn't even like a thing anymore. And Aaron Rodgers was great. I thought Aaron was great in the locker room, and
he was
doing everything else.
Yeah, and I felt like, midway through the season, it seemed like Steelers fans really embraced him and wanted him to come back for another year. There was that talk for a few weeks span until you hit the end of the season that people were like, they wanted him back. They thought he had another year. But when you get to 43, and he's going to be 43 for this season, Father Time never loses. It catches up with you. He's not as mobile as he used to be. It doesn't appear like he likes to get hit. No one does, right? I'd still say he has the arm, and he's still pretty accurate, and obviously he has the brain for it. But the 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers, how good is that? Is that a 100% Mason Rudolph? I mean, is it better than Mason Rudolph would be? I mean, where do you put an Aaron Rodgers behind an offensive line that's kind of in question right now?
Yeah, the way I felt like last year, at least, the age manifested itself with Rodgers was that it was he was inconsistent. I felt like there were flashes, there were games, like they ended up losing it actually, but the Bengals game on the road on that Thursday night, he looked like to me like kind of old school Aaron Rodgers, where he was moving really well. The throws were accurate, the throws were deep. We saw the arm strength on particular throws where he hit sideline routes or deep balls. I remember one Freiermuth didn't come up with actually down the sideline. That was a throw that few people in NFL history could make, and he made that at age 41 or 42, wherever he was at that point. But there was also games and weeks and throws or just maybe quarters where he looked like a 42-year-old quarterback at that point. So that's the way it manifested itself last year. You're right, that would be pretty naive to think that age would reverse itself in some way, or he wouldn't show his age even more this year. However, I do think you can make a case that the situation around him on offense is much better. He's not going to have to go into a playoff game or a meaningful game with Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Adam Thielen
and Calvin Austin.
As his only weapons he has at wide receiver. So I think in that sense, it's set up for a better season for him statistically.
And there's no question the Steelers acted like and did business as if he was coming back. I mean, they added a big-time, a playmaking wide receiver opposite of DK Metcalf. They drafted a wide receiver. They added Rico Dowdle, a running back. They drafted an offensive lineman, a couple of them. It seemed like they got what Rodgers wanted to come back.
Yeah, and you add to that Mike McCarthy, who's thought of as being one of the foremost offensive mind in this game now for a quarter century, right? And plus he has the experience of Aaron Rodgers. I think the scheme, the play calling will be better. That's not necessarily that shot at Arthur Smith. I just think it's more of a compliment of Mike McCarthy, and I think it's pretty much, at least on paper. On paper, it should be a better scheme, a better situation all the way around for whoever the quarterback is. So, therefore, I think Aaron Rodgers, him just being here an extra year, I don't know. The coaching staff's different now. The personnel's a lot different. But, yeah, adding Michael Pittman Jr., that's something. It's an element that the Steelers never had at any point last year. And I think that definitely hindered what DK Metcalf could be last year. So just having that. I got to go back to this. Rich, you remember the game in Baltimore where DK Metcalf, the very first play of the game, took a shot down the field to him. He had his best game statistically in terms of yards, in terms of catches and everything like that. And that was because, for whatever reason, and obviously it wasn't very smart of the Ravens, they did not devote all their resources to him. They did not. They let him on single coverage a lot of times. And that's because every other team in the league saw there was no one else in this offense that we're scared of from the wide receiver position in particular. So they had to do that. So this year, having a Michael Pittman Jr., hopefully a Jeremy Bernard can step in and be a legit, right away as a rookie, be a legitimate number 3 receiver. I think there's reason to believe that's possible for sure. And that should even unlock so much more to DK Metcalf. And again, if you have that, we saw what Aaron did when Metcalf's not being double teamed or bracketed, and all the attention going to him. We saw him in that one particular game. I think you could see that a lot more in 2026.
Yeah, and maybe they'll start throwing in the middle of the field before the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. 412-575-2600 is the number. Back in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night from MLB Pipeline. Big news here today. Pirates are promoting 19-year-old Seth Hernandez from low A to high A. Not that big of a jump there, but it is. His next stop will be Altoona potentially, and we could see him, an hour and a half away there at some point this year. He's the number 2 right-handed pitching prospect in the majors right now. Look at that ERA, 96, 50 Ks. And the guy can throw some heat, 100-plus. At times, strikes out a lot of guys. Averages, I think, something like 9 strikeouts a game in minor leagues. Look, he gets to Altoona, potentially AAA next year. Maybe we see him at the end of next year, something like that. I hope the Pirates organization learns something from the Paul Skeens and Connor Griffin. If you have a star like this, maybe bring the guy up a little bit earlier than normal.
I know our Triple Live's Joe Starkey, who wrote a column about the Seth Hernandez, or about Ben Cherington in particular, and of those 3 draft picks in terms of how much his star has changed in terms of Cherington will help people view the Pirates system, Steelers, the Pirates minor league system, and having, because I mean, you just mentioned 3 guys there, or 2 guys that are generational in terms of how they got through the minors and what they've shown, certainly Skeens, obviously, and I know it's still very early on Connor Griffin, but there's signs to be everybody was right that he is going to be the superstar. And now you have another another potential top prospect coming through and zooming through the minors already as a teenager here. It's all of a sudden here, the Pirates look like they're doing a lot of right things. It's kind of crazy. I know you have Bucko fever.
No, I do have Bucko fever. Not today, losing to San Fran 2 out of 3. Hey, don't forget about our Penn West University question. I just scanned that QR code right-hand corner of your screen. How do the Pirates bolster their bullpen, move a current starter, bring someone up, trade to an established arm? Looks like most people want to trade for an established arm. That's what I'd want to do. We'll see what our viewers think by the end of the show. Right now, let's go to Brian in Indiana. How you doing, Brian?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for calling.
What do you think about that game today?
What I think about it? I would. Ryan O'Hearn, made a great play in the 9th, obviously, to save the game, and then was horrible in the 12th inning. You saw that fly ball down the right field line. It goes off his glove. I think he was worried about the wall. Then all of a sudden, wasn't really kind of paying attention. Thought the game was over, and the runner on third base got a late jump, and he could have maybe thrown him out if he was in the game, but assuming a single was going to score. But, whatever. Them blowing this, I think, could come back and haunt them.
Well, that's what 3 separate 2-run leads the Pirates do blow in this game, and that hurts. You lead literally pretty much the entire game, until the very last second when it ends. And yes, it was O'Hearn. I thought one of the things we might talk about tonight is this Ryan O'Hearn, what a find he is, and that still applies, of course.
He is. The problem is they have a bunch of right fielders and DHs on this team, and obviously Ryan O'Hearn isn't the greatest fielder. You'd want guys like Mangum in the lineup, someone like that that's a good outfielder. Brian Reynolds isn't even a good fielder, right? The problem is now their defense is suffering, but they got the bats. So the Pirates got to get it all together at some point.
Yeah, and that's it's almost like pick your poison as a small market team. And
I'd rather have the bats, though. Yeah, I'm not going to complain.
Exactly. They're a much better team, and you'd rather have the bats for sure. And maybe they could figure a way to figure this out. Now, Mangum's on the IL right now, and they were using him as a defensive replacement. I don't know how this game was a little bit extra innings. You don't know how it play out, but there's a chance he'd be in the outfield.
But you want O'Hearn's bat in the lineup, too.
You do want that. And he's been better. He's been better than probably expected at this point and worth every penny of the contract they gave him for sure. So it is. But, again, it's fun, Richie, that we're here talking. This is still a team that's, 3 games over 500 here.
Unfortunately, in last place, though. But you're right. It is fun to talk about winning baseball right now. I think they're on pace for 87 wins. 87 wins could potentially get you into the playoffs, but the sad part is the Pirates are in last place in the division, which is incredible.
It's only the Pirates, right?
Yeah.
It's like that year whenever they won 98 games and somehow
they finished second. Yeah.
They had to face Jake Arrieta, who was having this generational season, which we found out later was probably due to some substances.
Maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Let's go to Larry in Newcastle. How you doing, Larry?
Good. How are you doing, sir?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. I'm calling about today's game. This is the 3rd time now I think the managers lost the game for us. They had Davis on first base. They had a guy on third. Why not replace Davis with somebody with some speed? Force the hands of the Giants. Have him steal at simple baseball, which you teach the kids to do in a little league. I know, I coached them.
Yeah.
Those things, it just drives me nuts. I mean, the simple things you're supposed to do.
Look, I can't disagree with you there, Larry. You can point to a few times in this game where they blew it, but the fact is they scored 6 runs, and you scored 4 runs to get into extra innings. That should be. This team would have won games last year scoring 4 runs, but now I think the bullpen is the biggest problem. Guys like Ramirez just giving up runs. He gives up 2 runs in the 10th inning. You can't. You need a bullpen arm. You need another arm. I know Jared Jones is coming back. He might slide into the rotation, the starting rotation. But how many innings is he going to go early on? They might limit him to 4 innings early on, and then you need someone like Carmen Mlodzinski to maybe pick up from there. But I want Carmen Mlodzinski in the rotation because he's probably the 3rd or 4th best pitcher right now. 4th best pitcher. I mean, Ashcraft is probably the 3rd best pitcher. So you want him in the rotation. But then what do you do with Bubba Chandler? You don't want to screw him up and move him to the bullpen, do you? Then you'd have to send him down. And I don't want to do that. So the Pirates have kind of a dilemma on their hands right now.
Yeah, that's the crazy part is the one thing at the major league level in terms of free agents or acquisitions that Ben Cherington did so well the first 3 or 4 years of his tenure was signing that like low-end veteran starter, whether it be they brought in somebody every single year, Tyler Anderson.
Bailey Falter, guys like, you get guys like that,
And this is the one year where he didn't do that. They tried with Jose Urquidy, and that hasn't really worked out. It'd be nice to have him, if that was a reliable, even 4th or 5th starter, then you'd almost have to put Majinski in the bullpen where I think he could really thrive. And I know he wants to be a starter, and we'll see how that plays out. But just you're not getting the length out of him, and it'd be really good to have him as that 6th or 7th inning guy, I feel like.
Let's go out to Bob in Monroeville. How you doing, Bob?
I'm good.
Thanks for calling.
I can't believe anyone wants Rodgers to come back.
I mean, look.
He did nothing.
Yeah.
He did nothing last year.
I don't really want him to come back. It's not because I don't think he's a good quarterback. I still think he could be at least a top 20 quarterback, top 15 quarterback maybe in the league this year. But I think it prohibits the younger guys to see what you have with the younger guys. That's my biggest concern. You know, I'm willing to throw away a year to see what you got. But also, on the flip side, and I know we're going to talk about this tonight on the #1 Conquering Sports Showdown, Rodgers can kind of act like a mentor.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I view it now, is that something's clicked with me on that side, where I certainly understand that rationale. And first off, I've always been a Mason Rudolph fan and a guy I believe he could start, so I see that end of it too. And it is going to be somehow something's got to give here, because they have 4 quarterbacks that they, to some degree, want, or assuming once Rodgers gets here, of course. And if they really do like Will Howard, something's got to give there. You can't carry 4 during the season realistically. So there's a lot. I get it, but I do think that Mike McCarthy and Omar Khan and the Steelers and the coaching staff see Aaron Rodgers not as sort of somebody who's taking away necessarily. And I know he's taking snaps away or whatever, but from the young quarterback, but somebody who's going to help and supplement that and be the mentor and help be an assistant coach and help do that. Last year, I'm telling you, that went really well. Now, we'll see if Will Howard ever becomes a quarterback. I get it, whatever. I think they see Aaron Rodgers as doing that also for Drew Aller, and see where those two can develop and where they can go. And you see, because you roll the dice. Listen, I'm sure that maybe it doesn't work out. You try to get it in a first-round pick maybe next year, but you're going to have to give up assets to do that, trade future other picks, use your first-round pick at something else. If it's worth the shot to see if one of these young guys can be the quarterback of the future.
Then it feels like you wasted a 3rd round on Drew Aller, and then what? You draft another quarterback, and then what you do, you still have 4 quarterbacks or 3 young quarterbacks that all want to play. So, yeah, I guess it doesn't hurt to have too many good quarterbacks, right? All right, we got to take a break. Back in a couple of minutes.